Welcome to the Sportscast, October 17th, 2018. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. Follow us on Periscope. And if you are on iTunes, please rate and review. It'll help us out tremendously. This past weekend, a lot of good games. But one of the best games this weekend was Oregon-Washington. Oregon came through, winning a must-win game against the Washington Huskies, winning 30-27 in overtime. And joining us to discuss this win, Ty Turner, welcome to the Sportscast.
What's up, dude?
Your Oregon came through. C.J. Verdell, he scored on a 6-yard run in overtime. And the number 117 Oregon knocked off the number 7 Washington Huskies. What were your thoughts about that game?
Man, it was just a tremendous football game. It was one of the, I think a lot of people even said it. I read a lot of different places where it was just one of the better played football games. I mean, not a lot of penalties, not really sloppy. It was just a clean game. Just a well played football game. And I'm not gonna lie, it couldn't have ended up any better for me as an Oregon Ducks fan. Washington had the chance to win it in regulation, and he missed a 37-yard field goal, and then they came out, got the ball first, hit a field goal, and third and goal, spread them out and handed it off to C.J. Verdell, and Verdell ran it in and won the game. So, huge rivalry between Washington and Oregon, both two best teams probably in the Pac-12 North, and it's very big implications in the Pac-12, and ultimately it was a huge victory by Oregon. We've had a couple tough seasons. Obviously, this is our third coach in 3 years, and it was just
not made.
I'm not going to lie, I was extremely nervous because, anytime that comes down to if a guy makes a kick or not, it's like if you are, you're going to be nervous if you're for Washington or for Oregon. It's just one of those things that it's just kind of a done deal. It's like, you're going to be nervous. And, they called a couple timeouts. They were able to ice him. And he'd been a little questionable this year. I think he missed a couple kicks against Washington. And people, I know people have kind of questioned Chris Peterson, kind of leaving it in his hands, meaning he had not been consistent enough. Just like I wouldn't have trusted us to leave it in the hands of our kicker. Our kicker missed a gimme 38-yard field goal. So I think it kind of was similar to both teams. It really was. If you look at that game, it was such an even play game. It's like we each had a turnover. We each pretty much had the same amount of penalties. We each had a player ejected for targeting. We each missed a field goal. So it was, some people are trying to say, like, wow, man, Washington would have taken advantage of the opportunities. They actually played the better game. No, they really didn't. They had a few more yards, but other than that, it was extremely even. It was out since you have to take that into consideration. But honestly, if you look at you compare the teams, OL, DL, quarterback, wide receiver, it really evens itself out. And when you look even at the team talent in the recruiting rankings, they've been pretty much even over the last few years. So it's very even teams. And so that's why you got the game you did. Yeah, it was just very well. Washington could definitely win that game several times. Oregon could win that game several times. I wouldn't say any team is better. For instance, we lost to Stanford, but we dominated Stanford.
Yeah.
We had almost 200 more yards total offense. You watched that game, and for 3 quarters, Oregon dominated Stanford. Wasn't even close. But we lost. That's kind of how life goes. We didn't dominate Washington. No. But Washington dominated us. It was that close a game. So,
my takeaway, Washington's defense hadn't allowed a team to score more than 24 points all season. Oregon is the 4th team in the past 2 seasons to reach the 30-point mark. The 30-point mark against Washington.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't when you look at Oregon this year, they pretty much, there's been the narrative that it's wherever Justin Herbert goes is where we go. And Justin Herbert's great. You know, he's going to probably be the top quarterback drafted if he comes out, and he is everything that people say he is. But one thing Justin Herbert never has done is really win on his own onus a big game. And we won that game. But did we win because of Justin Herbert? No. I wouldn't say Justin Herbert outplayed Jake Browning. He actually statistically did not have as good a game. Browning did make a bad interception that turned into a field goal. So that has to be taken into context. Herbert didn't have any interceptions, but Herbert also was only like in the 50s in completion percentage. Especially at the beginning of the game, he was 3 for 10. There was a lot of overthrows. He seemed a little antsy in the pocket. And then even at the end of the game, you know, they got into inside the 30-yard line. He really took an ill-advised sack that took them out of field goal range. We then ended up having to punt, and then, of course, Washington drives length of the field and missed field goals. But Justin Herbert didn't win that game. He really didn't. He did make a bunch of mistakes, but he wasn't the reason we won the game. We won the game because it was a little bit of luck, and we were able to run the ball. We were able to run effectively against their defense, and we were able to establish the line of scrimmage. Now, one thing to make note is we did in that game lose our freshman, the highest graded freshman offensive lineman in the nation, Penei Sewell. He had a high ankle sprain, and he's out for the rest of the season. So that was one negative thing that happened from that game.
Yeah. Despite being down 2 starting offensive linemen, the Ducks were able to control the line of scrimmage in the second half and get their run game going. The Ducks rushed for 177 yards for the game and ran the ball 27 times in the second half in overtime. So your running game did it.
Yeah, it's a running game, but definitely mixing in. I mean, he did pass 2 for 202 yards, and that is the best secondary in the Pac-12. It's not even really close. You have Byron Murphy, who's going to be a first-round draft pick for Washington. You have Taylor Rapp, who's going to probably go in the first couple rounds. You have terrific other players like Miles Bryan, Jordan Miller, Jay McIntosh. Jimmy Lake's one of the best secondary coaches in college football. So, yeah, I mean, they had a great secondary. And our receiving core is Dylan Mitchell, is a terrific player. He's right now leading the Pac-12, in Pac-12 play. He's leading the Pac-12 in receptions, yards, and yards per catch. But outside of Dylan Mitchell, it's an anemic, pretty receiving core. No one else is really producing. So it's problematic when you're playing against the best secondary in the Pac-12, and you only really have one receiver who's really producing at a high level. So it made it very difficult for people to be open. So I think Herbert, that made him he didn't see Mitchell open, he kind of threw it away. But one thing I normally didn't see as much from Herbert that I've seen most of his career in other games this season is he's a good runner. He can get outside the pocket and run. He didn't run this game. And even when we did the RPO, which is a run-pass option, he only kept it like 1 or 2 times. And if you could have kept it a couple other times, you might have been able to get 5, 10, 15 yards outside. So we won the game. It was a great victory by the Ducks. But for Justin Herbert in solo, it was an okay game. He had 13 scouts there. He had 13 NFL scouts there. 13 teams. Sorry, not 13 NFL scouts. Probably had 100 NFL scouts.
13
and John
scouts
Elway,
on the same team.
And John Elway, the GM of the Broncos, was there.
Wow.
He definitely was playing in front of a lot of people. And for the most part, I read a lot of reviews from different draft scout websites, and I just read one from Pete Thamel of Yahoo.com. And actually, he had a pretty positive review from the game because he won the game. He didn't make any interceptions. So for the most part, it was positive. I think I read one negative that said he was a little flawed because he showed his inexperience and maybe lack of maturity with some of his kind of unsteadiness in the pocket when he got pressured. So there was one negative. I think I saw 3 or 4 positives. So he overall got a fairly positive review from the game. So,
and I could probably bet probably the New York Giants was there. But let's go on to the other games.
Oh yeah,
LSU defeating Georgia 36-16. This is the second most important game according to Tyler. What you think about that win from LSU?
I did. Obviously, I didn't see much of the game. It was going on at the exact same time of the Duck game. But from what I saw and what I did read, LSU pretty much gave them a butt whooping. Georgia was pretty offensively pretty anemic, and then offensively, the LSU was able to make some big plays. Joe Burrow, I know, had a nice 50-yard run, and he was able to hit some of his receivers. I think Terrence Marshall, true freshman, 5-star guy out of Louisiana, was really pretty good in the game. So, yeah, it was a good victory by LSU.
You think Georgia still has a chance to make it to the playoffs?
Well, of course they do. I mean, it's only one loss. If they win out and then they win the SEC championship over Alabama, they're in the playoffs. Do I think they're going to win out and beat Alabama? No. I saw them play earlier this year, and I just didn't think there's something a little off. Maybe they're a little young. I know that a lot of their best players are freshmen and sophomores, and that's always, even though they're extremely talented, one of the most talented teams in the country, when your best players are freshmen and sophomores, that's never a great thing. So I think part of that, and but I think I think Georgia definitely has a chance, but I don't know. I don't think they'd beat Alabama. I don't know if they beat Florida. I would not be shocked whatsoever if Florida ends up being the representative for the SEC East.
Now,
I don't think Florida beats Alabama either, though.
Can you see LSU beating Alabama?
SEC's getting okay. For the most part, I think the SEC is only going to get one team. I really do. But if LSU, who probably is the most likely team to beat Alabama of anyone, because they're playing at LSU. LSU is very, very good on defense. They have maybe the best defensive coordinator in Dave Aranda, but not just that. He has the talent. You have Brevin White. I think I'm saying his name right. It's White. The linebacker. You have Greedy Williams, who's going to be a top 5 pick. White's going to be a first-round pick. You have some studs on the offensive line. You have Pillett, who I think is considered one of the top safeties in the nation. I believe when they did the midseason All-American poll, 3 LSU players landed on it on the first team when the Associated Press, Athletic, and SI.com all did midseason All-American polls, and LSU had 3 guys on defense. So it is a very good defensive team. I don't know if they're going to be able to generate enough offense. That's the only thing. Burrow has been better than any other quarterback in recent memory for LSU, but they still can do a performance like against Florida. And no matter how good the defense is, Alabama has the best offense in the nation. You know, whether it be Tua Tagovailoa, you got the great receivers, Jerry Jeudy, who's probably the best receiver in the nation, and then the other guys like Jalen Waddle, and then just a great offensive line. You have 2 of the best offensive linemen in Alex Leatherwood and Jonah Williams, and then you have terrific backs and like Najee Harris and Damian Harris. So I just don't think you're going to be able to shut them down, and I don't know if LSU is going to be able to get enough offense. But, yes, they are the best chance to beat Alabama.
And speaking about Alabama, do you think Alabama should rest Tua Tagovailoa after he aggravated his knee and start Jalen Hurts against Tennessee?
I don't know how hurt Tua is. I do know I strained my knee in college, and actually it was a very irritating injury that I never really recovered from the whole season. It affected my quickness and my speed. And I was playing linebacker in college. It hurt it my sophomore year in junior college. So I don't know if it's like an injury like that. Kind of seems like it. Even kind of the way he pulled up and kind of what it sounds like has been reported. So if it's something like that, yeah, he maybe should rest, because if you keep on playing on that on that injury, it doesn't get better. So would it affect him against Tennessee? No. But could it affect him against LSU? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't look great against Missouri. He definitely had his most average performance against Missouri. So a really good LSU team on the road that can play really good defense and will definitely get pressure on him, and has playmakers in the defensive backfield that, if he's getting pressured, make plays, they can take them all away. I would advise him to, for his best interest, probably to rest up and let it heal a little bit better. Because otherwise, it just might keep on lingering, and then they do end up losing a game like that. And like I said, that is the way in a way, I don't really want that to happen. Because then LSU could run the table. They beat Alabama. They get the head-to-head. LSU then goes and, let's say, beats Georgia or Florida. Then I think SEC gets 2 teams in the college football playoff. I think Alabama would and LSU. So if LSU does win, I hope they then go and lose to, like, Georgia in the SEC title.
Yeah.
Or Florida, So I don't want 2 SEC teams. I do not want 2 SEC teams in the college football playoffs. I just don't like. I don't like seeing 2 teams in the same conference, no matter what conference it is. So, I want it 1 SEC, 1 Big Ten. I guess ACC. Clemson has to win out though. ACC is weak. It's people keep on talking about other conferences being weak. I think the ACC is the weakest conference this year in college football.
It is.
As a whole, they just are not a strong. It's not a strong conference. Miami's look terrible. Florida State's look terrible. Other teams like Boston College and Wake Forest are supposed to be better, look terrible. Louisville's much worse. You got NC State who's looking better, but it's just not a good conference. I think it's a little weak on talent, to be honest with you. I think you have Clemson, and I think the rest of the conference. I think most of the talent in that area, if they don't go to Clemson, they're going to SEC schools. So, it's really, I don't want to see, I would rather see that ACC out of it and but Clemson's really good. Clemson's really good, and that's the thing. But if Clemson loses the game, definitely if they lose 2 games, but even if they lose the game, I don't know if I want to see them in the college football playoff. So I would kind of like to see SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and Pac-12. So.
And we'll look at the poll right now. Alabama number 1, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU, Michigan, Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, UCF, 11th Florida, 12th Oregon. How do you see the table?
Well, my poll. I put it up on. I do my poll before the actual poll gets released.
Which you came close.
So I was pretty close. I think I had Alabama first, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU, Michigan, Georgia, Oklahoma, UCF, Texas, Oregon, Florida. I had Oregon over Florida. I know that was one difference. I had UCF over Texas. Texas is higher. I think I had Oklahoma a little higher than the AP poll. But other than that, I was pretty spot on. So, so pretty spot on. Just little differences here and there. And I think, a lot of these teams, look at the AP poll. Michigan will play Ohio State. LSU and Alabama play. Georgia's going to play LSU or Alabama if they make the SEC championship. Oklahoma and Texas, if they both win out, they play each other again in the Big 12 championship. So a lot has to be made of a lot of these teams are going to beat each other. And that's not even counting upsets from outside teams. So a lot of these teams are going to beat each other. So people keep on saying, no way Oregon makes the playoff. Fortunately, they lost. They can make the playoff. If they go 12-1 and win the Pac-12, all these other teams are beating up on each other. Many of them one loss versus one loss. Yeah, Oregon can get up to the playoff. I see it. I guess
see a path.
Don't look deeper into it. What?
You see a path for the Oregon
Ducks.
Ducks.
Definitely a path. If they're 12-1, win the Pac-12 title, they are going to be in. I predict I'm going to say it right now. They're going to be in the playoffs. There's going to be enough teams to lose in front of them that they'll get it. But are they going to finish 12-1? They're still a young team. They still are not quite there depth-wise, especially with talent. Some injuries happen. They still have a couple tough games. So it might not happen, but if it does, yes, they're in.
What about UCF? You think they can hang in there and maybe go higher?
No, and I don't think they should. I mean, they barely beat Memphis this year. I mean, they do win and they keep on winning, but they just don't play the teams. If they were playing any other Power 5 schedule, they would have more losses. They just would. So,
in other college news, Nick Bosa has withdrawn from Ohio State to rehab an injury and also prepare for the 2019 NFL Draft. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you kind of know. We had this discussion on the Sportscast message thing on Facebook, and I'm going to remain pretty dogmatic with that point. Plain and simple, he's a top 5 pick. And I know your boy, Justin Riley, good guy, so, we all have our opinions, but he was kind of under like, well, I just don't think he should leave his team. I think it sets a bad example. But okay, so here's the premise. Premise is Nick Bosa leaves, withdraws from Ohio State University, and he is going to rehab and train for the NFL Draft. Okay, so let's look at the body of evidence. He was pretty much going to be done for the season. I believe he maybe thought he wasn't, and I believe probably more than likely. I'm going more off of what I think, a hunch that I'm going off of because of his decision. I believe more than likely he was not healing very fast. Sometimes I have a lazy tongue. An abdominal injury is something that takes a while to heal from. And I think he wasn't quite healing as fast. Possibly had a doctor or an athletic trainer saying, I don't know if you'll be able to go up against offensive tackles, be able to set your core and really without any pain or possibly re-injuring it. So it's probably best you're not going to play again this year. So that's what they say to him. So then he maybe was going through training but did not think it was up to the standard. You know, his dad was an NFL player. His older brother was a 3rd pick a couple of years ago and plays for the San Diego Chargers. Maybe they're like, well, there's just better trainers or better rehab facilities in Florida where he's from. And he's like, you're a top 5 pick. Not very many people are projected to be top 5 picks. Only a handful of people are projected to be top 5 picks. He knows he's going to be a top 5 pick. He also knows he will never play another down for Ohio State. He also knows that he needs to get healthy so that in order for him to be able to participate in the combine, in pro day drills, be able to look the part of what he looks on film for scouts and for various NFL teams. Therefore, he felt like it was in his best interest to then go get the proper rehab and then leave school. Your buddy Justin also said, well, he needs to finish his degree. He wasn't finishing his degree anyway.
He probably wasn't.
He was going to be leaving. No, he wasn't. So he's going to have 12 less credits. So that's not really good. That's not a good argument for that. So a guy who's going to leave anyways is then supposed to worry more that he got a little closer to his degree. That doesn't, you see what I'm saying?
I don't think he's aiming for that. Yeah, I don't think he's aiming for a degree.
Yeah. So that argument's not good. And you could say, well, he left his team. He wasn't going to play again. So the only thing he would be is like a voice in the locker room. And that argument I could see. But for him personally, to go rehab, go get himself ready for the draft, to be a top 5 pick, which barely anyone has the opportunity to be. To say that, well, his team's going to play for the national title, it's not just any old team, he wasn't going to play.
His injury was that bad.
So he was supposed to stay around, be a rah-rah guy? Yeah, to stay around and be a rah-rah guy. And I think why he didn't withdraw immediately, I think he thought there was an opportunity for himself to play, and probably more than likely what happened is he found out through rehabilitating the injury that it wasn't going like he thought it was going to go, and he wasn't going to be able to play. And so the argument for him to be there is a very subjective argument. There's so much objective evidence to say he wasn't going to be ready. He needed to rehab the injury. He needed to get ready for the NFL Combine. It didn't matter when he withdrew for school because he was not going to be finishing his degree anyways. So there really was you're reaching for evidence to say. You're trying to basically frame a narrative saying it is wrong what he did. He left his team on a very subjective viewpoint.
Which probably, he had scouts.
You can't look at anything.
Yeah.
You can't you can't look at things that subjectively, because if you do, you have the Democratic Party. I'm kidding.
Hey, this is sports show. This is a sports show. I'm kidding.
No, but anyways, you can't look at stuff subjectively. That's what even happened. Yeah, when you go to like the recent Supreme Court appointment, you have to look at things objectively. Objectively, there was so much evidence to say that what Nick Bosa did was right for him, was the right decision to make. And for him to make the other would have just basically been him saying, I just want to stay part of the team. Even though he wasn't going to play, he would just be a voice in the locker room. And,
And who knows, maybe, some scouts had a lot of interest. Hey, Nick, we want you really bad. We'll definitely select you in like the first round, top 10. And he probably felt very confident, to make this decision.
Oh, I mean, it's not even up for an argument. He is considered by most to be the top-graded prospect coming into the draft. It's between him and forget his name for a second, Ed Oliver. It's between him and Ed Oliver as the highest grades going into the draft. So he knows he's one of the top-graded NFL prospects. He has been since the last draft left. Most projected drafts have him going in the top 5.
Yeah.
A lot have him going number 1.
And
so he knows, he knows he's going to be a top 5 pick. So therefore, there you go.
Yeah. Which, like you were saying, he probably had an injury. He probably won't get healed on time, and it's probably not even worth it, just to get, hey, you come back and then you re-injure yourself, and it's probably towards the end of the season, so it makes no sense. But maybe, this is it was a timely decision probably, and talk to his family, his scouts, the coaches, maybe, who knows. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, probably.
Hopefully, yeah. Nick, hopefully we'll wish him a great future for himself, and probably see him at the Combine in the spring. Last night, the NBA began tip-off. The first game was not the first game, but like one of like the main games last night was the Sixers defeating the Celtics. Are you kind of hyped for the NBA this season?
Yeah, I wouldn't say hyped. I would say more like I have good interest.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope, I'm kind of in trouble getting hyped for the NBA for probably a plethora of reasons, but one is it's getting a little boring seeing the Warriors win every year. I was a Warriors fan. I've always been a huge Steph Curry fan ever since his days at Davidson, but it's kind of like, it is what it is. I kind of want someone else to win it. They've been in 4 straight NBA finals, winning 3 out of 4. So I'm definitely hoping someone else steps up. I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone that quite has the talent, but there's some teams that are good. You got the Celtics. They're good. They're a good-looking team. Good victory last night. You have Toronto. They got Kawhi Leonard, so let's see if he comes back and is the Kawhi he was. They could be an interesting team. You in the West, you have the Rockets. They're going to be good again. The Jazz were so impressive last year, and I like the Jazz. They're probably the team I'm rooting for. You have Thunder, who have some very talented players coming back. Clearly, so there's some intrigue, but only in the Lakers too. I'm definitely interested in the season and seeing. I think if I offhand would like to see an NBA Finals matchup, I was kind of just assuming the Warriors are going to make it, but they'll have some tough matchups.
Yeah,
but, them against the Celtics could be interesting. So,
yeah,
how is Gordon Hayward looking?
Oh, he looked good last night. He had a few 3-pointers, and and he was saying that he had a lot of adrenaline coming back. And I mean, this is probably his first game since last year's preseason. And then we saw Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
But the East, I would say Boston it could be more open to that. It's between Boston, Toronto, and Philadelphia. So it's definitely a new face of the East.
Yep.
And then the West, we'll see LeBron's debut in the West and see if they could challenge the West. But I doubt it. We don't know if they could.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they'll break the top 4. So
he didn't go. I don't think he went. I don't think he went there to win championships.
No. He's probably more towards a retirement type of thing. Like, I want to work with Hollywood, transition out and just take advantage of the situation. Still the best player in the NBA.
Don't get me started. He's about as liberal as you can get with his politics. So
yeah, exactly.
I get tired of not to go off on a tangent, but let's go off on a little bit of one. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm sorry. LeBron James is a great basketball player. He's had a great career. He's definitely one of the greatest players of all time. Know your place, man. You don't even have a college degree. And I'm not saying you don't have to have a college degree, but he's not even college educated in any sense. And he talks about it, and he does not know what he's talking about. He sounds like he's heard one side of the argument, talking about a subjective viewpoint, and he's not even listened to the other side. So I just wish you'd be quiet. And if you want to know, that's why I've lost a little bit of interest in the NBA. I don't want to hear people giving opinions when they do not know what the heck they're talking about.
I'm in agreement with
You're an athlete you're an athlete who can play a sport. Thank God for that opportunity. If you can use it as a platform to help those who may be in underprivileged communities, go back to your communities and help people, that is awesome. But to be giving a bunch of blanketed statements and a bunch of blanketed comments about stuff that you're like, you can tell they don't even know what they're talking about. Like, there's not a lot of credence to what they're talking about. They're not authority on the subject. That's like me giving my opinion on nuclear science. I shouldn't give an opinion on stuff related to nuclear science because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
Same for
now,
soccer.
If you want to give an opinion of helping those, if you want to give an opinion of those, of like helping those in underprivileged community and knowing where you came from and going back and helping kids that have come from broken homes and fathers that are maybe incarcerated, stuff like that, that's admirable. But then all of a sudden we have a president who doesn't believe in this. You don't know what you're talking about. Have you even talked to the president, or are you just listening to the liberal biased media and their opinion, and they're running off on narratives in order to create a certain kind of environment so people kind of feed off of it, and then you're an athlete, you jump in on it. I think this, and you're like, what are you talking about?
I totally
shut
agree.
up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think
And NBA players do it more than probably any other sport.
Yeah, more than
NFL
NFL
players.
Therefore,
I just want to go up to them. And even NFL do it too much. I just want to go up to them and say, you don't know what you're talking about. Go back on the ball, on the basketball court and play basketball. And then maybe if you do want to have a intelligent opinion on a certain topic or issue, do your research. Look at things completely from a blank slate's kind of what I'm looking at, but there's a particular word I'm looking at. Look at it from like a state of anonymity, and you don't know what your viewpoint, and you take evidence to the left and you take evidence to the right, and you weigh it from that perspective instead of just feeding whatever your personal biases are. And that's what's gotten so wrong with our society, and that's what's gotten so wrong with so many quote unquote agendas going on out there. People have biases because of things that have happened in their life, and then they therefore feed those biases in order to formulate an uneducated opinion. And it's basically like, I'm the most ignorant person in the room, and I'm going to blabber off my opinion on a particular topic when I really don't know the entirety of what I'm talking about. And it's become just annoying. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And I agree. I think, sports is where I like to relax. Don't think about work or politics. I just, want to enjoy the game, and I just want to see some competitive nature. Anyways, are you ready for some predictions?
Well, we didn't talk about Packers, man.
Oh, that's right. The Packers. Yes, they won last minute against the San Francisco 49ers. Surprising game. Everyone was like, okay, this game will be terrible. It turned out to be good.
Yeah, it was, I mean, they beat the Dolphins. Dolphins. No, good. Beat the 49ers.
Yeah.
Felt like they were playing the Dolphins. And they did not look very good. Their defense was, I mean, C.J. Beathard looked like he was the second coming of Tom Brady. And maybe he is better. An Iowa kid, who knows? He's looking pretty good. But they looked, for most of the game, it was so frustrating to watch. The receiving core, unfortunately, for Green Bay has been a little banged up. Like Randall Cobb's out, Geronimo Allison's out. So you're playing some rookies, Scantling, Rinius, St. Brown, and then you got Adams, who's just a stud, and obviously he had the game-winning touchdown. It was a great comeback. Rodgers being Rodgers. He is not healthy. He hasn't been healthy since the first game. He clearly moves around not like he normally does. But the guy is just a competitor. The guy is he's just a tremendous quarterback. He's just terrific. And even with a young receiving core, an offensive line that's A-okay, a running game that's been inconsistent. Aaron Jones did look better. I do kind of like him. A defense that really was not playing very well. He was able to win that game. So they're 3-2-1, and they haven't played very well. So the good news is they can get better. The bad news is their schedule gets way, way tougher. Much tougher. They play the Rams, they play the Patriots, they play the Dolphins. Actually, they play the Dolphins. They're playing much better teams coming up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the NFC North is tricky because obviously you got the Chicago Bears as pretty much a juggernaut. I mean, they're doing well this season, even though they lost against the Dolphins in overtime this past weekend. And then you got the Vikings, and the Lions are there. We'll see where it goes. But the Packers. What?
Did you just call the Bears a juggernaut?
I mean, Trubisky's doing really well. And their defense is well. Mac,
look up the example of a juggernaut.
Yeah, I know.
Look up the definition.
They will have to be like undefeated. They will have to be undefeated.
A juggernaut is the St. Louis Rams. It's not St. Louis. They moved.
LA Rams.
The juggernaut currently is the LA Rams.
Let's just say the Bears are doing better this year than the years prior.
They are doing better. That doesn't mean they're a juggernaut.
We'll see what happens.
Referring to a 3-2 team that hasn't made the playoffs in like 5 years is a juggernaut.
Wow.
Okay, that's one of our biggest rivals. So you have to watch who you're talking to.
Yeah,
that's like calling the Huskies a juggernaut. But I actually don't think that they actually practically are a juggernaut. They're better. Yes, they have. Trubisky's better. He's not one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL by any means. And last but not least, they have a good defense, and Khalil Mack is one of the better defensive players in the game. That I do agree with. Juggernaut, no.
Not so much. That's a strong word. And even like the Rams are not been doing these past 2 games haven't been too pretty, but like they find a way to win. They scraped to the Broncos.
What's the record?
Yeah, they got the record.
What's the record?
And
but
the Rams are the best team.
I don't know if you'd even call them a juggernaut.
Yeah.
But they're the best team in that. I would say the Rams because their offense is the best team in the NFL.
Anyways, let's go to predictions because this is.
But you got the Chiefs. You got the Chiefs too.
Yeah, Chiefs are good, and we didn't talk about them in the Patriots, but it's okay. But yeah, they lost. Michigan State at Michigan.
I just think Michigan's a better team this year, and they're playing pretty good. They're getting better offensively. They have a great defense. I think Michigan wins this year. Yep.
NC State at Clemson.
It's at Clemson. NC State's not bad. They're undefeated. Ryan Finley's probably the best quarterback in the ACC. He's also probably 2 or 3 when it comes to being top draft-eligible quarterbacks this draft. But I don't think they quite are as talented. It's at Clemson, which is a tough place to win. I'm going to take Clemson.
And Mississippi State at LSU.
You always have to worry about letdown after a big performance, but once again, it's at LSU. They're pretty tough to beat at Death Valley. I think LSU wins that game.
Oregon at Washington State. They call it the trap game.
Well, okay. Now I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this, and then sorry. It's not, for one, it's not a trap game. Trap game is between two games. So the Cal game was a trap game for Oregon because that was between Stanford and Washington, the two biggest rivals. So it's actually not a trap game. That's number one. Number two, Washington State does not match up well with Oregon. Actually, Washington State does not match up well with anyone who has a big physical offensive or defensive line. Go back and look at Mike Leach's teams the last 4 years. They will start off with great records, but when they start playing Washington, when they start playing Stanford, when they played in the bowl game against Michigan State, when they play bigger, stronger physical teams, they're able to control them, and they're also able to keep their offense on the sidelines. They then are able to wear them down, and by the third or fourth quarters, you're basically running through them like sliced cheese. So, moral of the story is this is not a good matchup for Washington State. Now, what is a little dangerous, not a trap game, but they had a very emotional victory last weekend, Oregon. You know, just going crazy, wanting last second. You have to wonder if 18, 21-year-old kids on the road will come out unfocused. That is possible. That is possible. That is possible. I mean, I'm going to admit that. But on the surface, this is not a good matchup for Washington State. It's just, we're a physical team, the Oregon Ducks. We are going to be able to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And I just think because of that, I'm definitely leaning that as long as Oregon shows up, as long as Oregon is focused, as long as Oregon doesn't make great mistakes, that Oregon wins. I don't even have it being that close. That would be in about 45-28.
And this game is probably, I'm looking at their schedule. It's probably the most, like, their last important game for the rest of the season, it feels like. I mean, you got Arizona, UCLA, but it feels like this one is
Utah.
Oh, Utah.
Utah's the toughest game for them yet left. The reason why it's at Utah's playing better, especially offensively. And Utah plays very good defense. They're one of the best defenses in the Pac-12. But Utah's also very good on the offensive line, and they're very good in the defensive line. So I think Utah, that's a tough game. That's a very tough game.
Yeah.
I actually think that's a tougher matchup than Washington State. Matchups make games. The thing is, Washington State, and I know you're Ryan Kristen. I was kidding with him. I said you're dead to me, and I love Ryan, but I don't think he really is looking. He's looking a little bit shallow at this game, and he's not looking into Washington State's starting defensive line is a 260-pound nose guard and two 245, 250-pound defensive ends. Going against an offensive line that is 320 pounds, that is the highest graded offensive line in the Pac-12, number 3 in college football. I mean, you got midseason All-American in Shane Lemieux. You have the highest graded offensive tackle in Calvin Throckmorton. Even with the injury to Penei Sewell, you're bringing in a guy, his backup has started 13 games at Oregon. So it's very good offensive line. I just think that they're going to be able to control it. And they can do all the shifting and the trapping and the twisting and all of that, but you can only do that for so long if a team's running straight at you. You're going to twist. You're also going to twist yourself right out of the play, and it's going to leave a big hole. And I think what's going to end up happening is the safeties and linebackers, linebackers are already in there, but I think the safeties are going to kind of have to come up and help on the run. And then I think it's going to leave open opportunities for the receivers, for the tight ends, where basically they've had to cheat up to try to stop the run, and they'll be able to pretty good pitch and catch opportunities for the tight ends and wide receivers without very much difficulty. So I just think it's, as long as they show up, I will admit, you have to worry about 18 to 21-year-old kids after a big victory. Their heads can get big. They can think their season is over, and all of a sudden they come out and lay an egg the next week. So Mario Cristobal, he needs to be on top of them. He needs to lay down like, hey, guys, come in focused, come in prepared, because the other team is going to come in focused and prepared. If they do so, I think they win the game relatively easily.
And there you have it. I am hoping Oregon makes it to the top 4 or has a chance to make it to the top 4 because it'll be very exciting to see Herbert like playing at the highest level. Alabama at Tennessee.
Alabama.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Alabama should win that game. And let's run through NFL really quick. Broncos at the Cardinals.
I'm gonna go. Man, neither of those teams are very good. I guess Cardinals.
Titans at
San Diego.
Patriots at Chicago.
Your Bears. The juggernaut. Patriots are playing pretty good. I think I'm going to take the Bears, though.
Yeah,
I think on the road I'm going to take the Bears.
Yeah, I agree. The Browns at the Buccaneers.
I'll take the Buccaneers.
Houston at Jacksonville.
Man, those are two impressive teams so far. I guess I'll take Jacksonville because it's at Jacksonville. Man, not very impressive so far.
Detroit and Miami.
I think Miami's looking pretty good. They're 4-2. They had a good victory last weekend. You guys, I think you're going to go to 5-2. I'm going to take the Dolphins at home.
The Saints at the Ravens.
Saints played pretty well this year. I think I'm going to take Saints.
Cowboys at the Redskins.
What is the Ravens? Oh, the Ravens aren't bad either. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ravens are doing pretty well this season. You'd be surprised. They're second in the AFC North.
Yeah, they're 4. Yeah, they're 4-2.
4-2. That's pretty good. And then Cowboys at Washington.
Washington's been a little better than expected. The Cowboys have been about as inconsistent as ever. I think I'm going to take at home. I think I'm going to take the Redskins. It's a big rivalry game. And like I said, the Cowboys 1 week will look great, like against Jacksonville. Next week they'll look like crap. So I think I'm going to take the Redskins.
Did you see the Cowboys celebration when they were doing like the McGregor walk?
No, but I mean, they need just to worry about looking like one team week after week. They're like up, down, and around.
Okay, and then Bengals at KC. Chiefs.
KC. I'm going to take. Bengals have been a lot better than expected. And KC had a great comeback, but then they lost. I think the Bengals upset them. I just think coming off of once again, you have to watch any team coming off a very hard-fought game, and then they ended up losing. They came all the way back, and the Bengals are better than many people thought they would be. I think they win.
And finally, the New York Giants at the Atlanta Falcons.
Giants versus Atlanta Falcons. Falcons. I think this is early prediction here. Giants suck. They're terrible. They will end up getting the number 1 pick. I think they end up about 3-13. They're going to draft quarterback.
Yeah, they're going to go.
There's still a lot of people that think, and then I know we probably should go, but there's still a lot of people that in Oregon and around him that say that he is leaning towards coming back. But everyone says the same thing. For instance, I'm just going to say hypothetical. Giants get the first pick. They're 3-13, as bad as they look. They call them up, and they're like, if you declare for the draft, we'll make you the number 1 draft pick. You're our guy.
Yeah.
He's guaranteed $35 million contract. Do you think he can really walk away from being the number 1 draft pick with a guaranteed contract?
You cannot.
I don't think he can. No, I don't think he can. So I think there's a high probability that happens because the Giants are bad. If you've seen them play this year, they are not a good team.
Yeah, poor Saquon Barkley, man.
They're terrible on the line.
Wear and tear.
He looks good.
Yeah, he looks good.
But the rest of the team is the rest of the team is just terrible. So I think they end up with the first, and if they don't end up with the first or second or third. And so I think ultimately that gets Herbert into the NFL this year.
That's right.
You just can't walk away from that.
Going to the Giants and be down the road from Sam Darnold. Tyler, how can people reach you?
Tyler Turner, Minneapolis on Twitter.
Well, guys,
big
games this weekend. Oregon, Washington State. That's probably the biggest game this weekend. Well, Michigan State, Michigan is a rivalry.
Yeah, and you got LSU, Mississippi State's a good game.
Yeah, good
if I were actually going to pick a biggest game, and I'm an Oregon fan, and it's game day, college game days in Washington State, I would actually give the biggest game this week to Clemson versus North Carolina State.
Ooh, yeah.
If you're going to have a big game in the ACC, that's probably the only big one this year. So I'd actually say that's the game of the week.
Correct.
It's a good week. You know, there's a couple of good rivalry games. There's 4 top 25 matchups. So it's a good week again.
It's a good week of college football. I love it. Things are getting steamier. Tyler.
Steamy, baby.
Thank you very much for stopping by at the Sportscast.
I see you, homie.